Hello everyone, today I'm going to show you how to create this chunked upload with progress bar using Express.js and React. And as always we start with an empty directory, and so now we can create a React part. So let's create the npx create React app and let's call it client. Okay, now so as you can see we have it installed in client directory as a subdirectory of our main directory. So now we can go inside client and we can start our React app. Okay, we have our React app. Now let's go to client source and app.js, and maybe let's remove some stuff we will not need. So let's just create an empty div here like this. Yes, and we can also remove this logo. Yes, and let's add test here so we know it works. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is to create a drop zone for our files. So let's try with div job drop zone. Yes, and now let's go to app CSS. Let's remove all those styles because we will not need them. Now let's go back to our JS and let's add the text some here. Drop your files here. Yes, and now in our app.js let's add some styles. Okay, so let's start from the background. I like some dark colors, so let's do background color maybe 113. Yes, and the color of the text needs to be brighter, so let's do DDD like David. And let's add also some padding, I don't know, maybe 20 pixels. All right, now with the drop zone, let's add this dotted border, 2 pixels, dashed, and let's do RGBA, and let's make it 20% transparent. All right, so now let's do some border radius of, let's say 10 pixels, and padding from the top and the bottom of 50 pixels, and from the size it will be 0. Now let's center our text align center. Oops, it should be align. And let's do text transform uppercase, and now let's make it more transparent. I mean the text, let's try with 60%. all right, now let's go back to our app.js, and in here we need to add some events to our drop zone. All right, so let's do on drag over first. On drag over we will get an event, and with this event we want to tell the drop zone that we have a file over the drop zone. So we will do something like set the current state of the drop zone to active. So to do this I will create an empty function for now, and at the top our import use state from React, so we can use state here. Let's call it drop zone active, and set drop zone active equals use state, and the default value will be false. Oops, set drop zone active. And when we have a file over, we want to do set drop zone active to true, and we also want to do prevent default behavior. Next, on drag leave we want to do a similar thing, so set drop zone active to false, and We'll also prevent the default behavior here for on drag leaf event. And the last event we need to handle is on drop. So when someone drops file or files into our drop zone, and here we need a specific function for this. So let's create it here. Let's call it handle drop, and it's a function, and we'll pass an event here. So now we can use it here, handle drop with the event. Okay, first thing is that we want to prevent default behavior of this event. Then let's use this drop zone active, so we can change the border colors when there is file over it. So let's see, we have class name drop zone, but let's also add if drop zone is active, then we will add active, otherwise we'll add nothing. And in our app.js, let's try drop zone active, and let's do border color of white. Now let's test it, and as you can see, it's changing the color when the file is over. Right, so let's now fix our handle drop function. So inside this event, we have actually array of files that we drop on this area. So we need to save them somewhere. For now, let's use state. So let's do const files and set files equals use state, and default value will be an empty array. So here we want to do set files, and we have files inside event data transfer files, but we don't want to replace existing events. We don't want to replace existing files if we drop new files. Instead, we want to add those new files to the existing files. So when we drop new files, we don't want to set those as files, replacing the old ones. We just want to add them as new files. So to do this, we need to do set files with existing files and the new files. So to do this, I will create an array like this, and I will extract this array like this, and I will also add existing files here like this. Maybe I will replace the order of them like this. Okay, so now when we drop files, we want to do something with them. So let's use effect and use effect here. If files length changes, then we want to upload those files, or at least start uploading, and this should be an array. Okay, so if we have some files, let's check if files length is bigger than 0, and we want also to check if we are not uploading anything right now. So how to know if we are uploading something? Let's put it as a state here. So const, let's call it maybe current file index, and set current file index will be use state, and the default value will be null. So this current file index will have an index of a file in this files array of the file that is currently uploading. So we will check if we don't have anything here. So current file index is null. So we know nothing is uploading right now. And if so, we want to start uploading the first file. So let's do set current file index of the first file. But it will not be always first file. It will be first file only on the beginning, and later when we drop more files, it should be the next file. So the next file is 0 from the beginning, but later we want to know how many files we have already uploaded. So to do this, let's add the last uploaded file index, and default value will be null. And in here, let's check if last uploaded file index is null, then it will be 0 because we haven't uploaded any files. But if we did, then the current file index will be last upload file index plus 1. So the next file will be uploaded. Let me only format this, yes, like this. Okay, so now we are updating this current file index when we get new files here. So let's also monitor the change of this current file index using use effect. So let's use effect empty function for now, and in this array we will do current file index. So in this function we want to start uploading this file of this index. So to do this, we want to tell the app to start uploading. And we start uploading by uploading the first chunk or the first part of the file. So let's maybe use also state for this. I will call it current chunk index, and the default value will be also null. So when current file index changes, when there is a new file to upload, let's update the current chunk index. So the part of the file that should be uploaded will be 0. So let's do set current chunk index to 0. But before, let's also check if the current file index is not empty. So current file index is different than null, then we start uploading the first chunk of the file. Okay, so now we want to know when this current chunk index changes. So let's use another effect, and current chunk index will monitor here, and in here we'll add an empty function for now. So in here we want to just upload this current chunk index. So let's just check if it's not null. So current chunk index is different than null, then we want to upload this chunk of the file. So to do this, I will create a function for this. Function read and upload current chunk, and I will use it here. Read and upload current chunk. Okay, so in this function, we want to take file from files with this current file index and read this current chunk index, and we want to upload this chunk of the file. So to do this, we will use a reader API functionality. So let's do const reader equals new FileReader, like this. Now we need to tell the reader what part of the file we want to read. So let's do first const file. The file is files of this index. So current file index. Now just in case, let's do if there's no file. Let's just stop here. And otherwise, we want to know what part of the file we want to read. So let's do const from. So at the beginning it will be 0, but for later chunks we want to read a specific part. So let's first define how big the chunks will be. So let's do const, maybe here, chunk size, and let's try with maybe 10 megabytes. So 10 kilobytes. So 10 times 2, like this. So we have 10 kilobytes here. The chunk size will be 10 kilobytes. All right, so back to our read and upload chunk. So the from will be current chunk index times chunk size. So for the first chunk, so the chunk of the index of 0, it will be 0 times 10 kilobytes, so it will be 0. But for example, the first one, we will start from 10,000 kilobyte of the file. All right, so now const 2 will be the ending part of this chunk. So it will be from plus the chunk size, like this. So we will always read from plus the chunk size. Okay, now let's take binary data that we want to read. So const blob equals file, and we need to slice this file from 2. All right, now we need to tell the reader what to do after it's done. So let's do reader on load, and it will be an event here, and later with the part of the file that we have read, let's upload it. So to upload a specific binary part of a file, I will create another function, and let's call it upload chunk, and we will pass this event here, and we'll use it here, upload chunk, like this. And at the end, we just need to tell the reader to start reading. Read as data URL will be fine. And here will be the blob. Okay, so here let's maybe rename this to reader event. Here we want to know what file we are reading, so let's do const file equals files and current file index, like this. And we want to get the binary data, so let's do const data equals reader event target result. Okay, now I want to send it with post request to our API. And to do this, I will use Axios. So I will open new tab in my terminal, go to client directory, and I will add yarn add Axios, like this. Okay, and I will also import it at the top here. Import Axios from Axios. And back to upload chunk function. Now we want to do Axios post, and we want to post our data to our API endpoint. So let's say it will be HTTP localhost 4000/upload. And as a data, we want to put this data here. So it's the same as here. And we also want to send some extra params, like file name and the current progress of the upload. What is the current chunk of the file, what part of the file is it. So I will do const params here. That will be an empty object for now, and I want to add it as a params here. So let's do question mark plus, and let's do params to string, and instead of using an empty object, I will use new URL search params like this. So now we can do like params set name will be file.name. There's also params set size will be file size. Let's also send the current chunk size, maybe params set current chunk index, current chunk index, like this, so we know what part of the file we are actually sending. Is it the beginning of the file, or is it the end, or is it somewhere in the middle? Oops, it should be current chunk index, like this. And we also want to tell how many parts will there be. So is it the first and the only part of the file, or will be there any more parts of the file? So let's do params set total chunks, and this will be file size divided by the chunk size, and this can be not an even number, so for example 2.5. so to fix it, we'll do math sale. So if it's 250 megabytes, it will be actually 3 parts, 3 chunks of the file if we have 100 megabyte chunk size. So that's why we are using math sale to round to the top, so it will be like 3 parts instead of 2.5. Okay, now let's also tell our API that this is not a regular API JSON request, but actually a file that we are sending. So let's create some extra headers. Content type will be application octet stream. Yes, it's fine. And we'll add those headers here. And to format it better, I will do URL here, like this. Okay, so after sending the post, we'll have a response. And with this response, we will do, let's fix our backend first. So here we have our client. Now we need to add the backend part. So let's create our API. So let's go back one directory and now let's create the API directory. Now we have it here, and let's go inside our API directory and let's yarn add Express, and let's create a new file here called server.js, and here we will put our Express app. So the first thing, I want to change the type of it to module, so I can do ES6 imports. And here let's do import Express from Express, like this. And now let's define our app. So const app equals Express. Now we can define our upload endpoint. So if someone posts at upload, we want to do something with the request and the response. and we need to start listening on 4000 port. Okay, so when someone posts at upload, we want to take the chunk that someone is uploading and save it somewhere inside our files, somewhere between our files here. So I will create a new directory here for our uploads, like this, so we can upload our files here. First, let's get all the params. So from the request, we are sending params like name, size, current chunk index, and total chunks. So from the name, we can take the extension of the file to know if it's JPEG or something else, and because we will need it later. So let's do const extension equals name split. Let's split by dot, and let's pop the last part. So if it's test.jpg, we will just take the last part. Okay, so now to take the raw body of our post request, we will need something called body-parser. So let's yarn add body-parser to our API, and now let's import body-parser from body-parser. Yes, and in our app, let's just use body-parser raw. The type is application / octet stream, and now we need also to define limit. Let's say it will be 100 megabytes. Oops, it should be like this. Okay, so now let's get the binary data that we are sending, and let's see what do we have here there inside. Let's do console log and request body, and just let's send response send empty string. Okay, let's start Node1 with our server.js. Oops, this is already in use. Let's try with 4001. Now it's better, and now just let's change this 4000 here to 4001, and let's see what happens if we try to upload something. Nothing happens. Let's see what do we have here. Okay, so we have a problem. So we have a course problem because we need to define some course policy, and because we are sending post requests between different domains. We are at localhost 3000 domain, and we want to send to localhost 4001. So to fix it, let's go to our API. Oops. API, and let's yarn add course, and here in our server.js, let's just import course from course, and let's just use it here. Course the origin of the request will be HTTP localhost 3000. Now let's try again. Okay, so now it's throwing 500 error. Let's see. Cannot read property split of undefined. Yes, this is because it's not request where we have all the params. It's in request query. Like this. So now let's try again. I will refresh. Let's upload. Yeah, so we have some bytes here. That's maybe called to string. And let's try again. Okay, here are the bytes that we are sending. But on the beginning, we have this meta information about the type of the file we are sending, and we want to remove it from the binary data. So as you can see, it's divided from the rest with a comma. So to get just the rest of it, I will do split by the comma, and I will take the second part, so index 1. So I will take everything starting from the comma. So now instead of console logging, let's remove this and let's assign it to a constant called data, like this. Now to save this, we want to change our data to a buffer, because otherwise it will not be possible. So let's do const buffer equals new buffer, and let's hit put our data like this. Okay, so now we can put our binary data to a file in side uploads directory. So to do this, we need to import fs from fs, so it's file. So now we can do some stuff on file system. So the easiest way will be fs dot append file sync. Let's do synchronously, and we could do here uploads slash and then the file and the data here, not the data, the buffer, like this. And this will work. The problem is that when we upload a file with the same file name, it will override the previous file. It will put the new file at the same place as the old file. So we want to randomize the file names. That's why we need this extension. Let's start with a temporary file name. Temp file name. And this will be, let's randomize it. So let's add maybe yarn add md5. And now also let's import md5 from md5 like this. So the temporary file name will be md5 of maybe the file name plus the dot plus the extension. Let's maybe also add here the request IP. And here, instead of putting it as a user file name, let's use our temp file name. Okay, now we want to use those information about chunks. So I want to also know if it's the first chunk or the last chunk. of the file. So first chunk will be if current chunk index is 0, and let's just use parse int of current chunk index is 0, and const last chunk is when current chunk index is same as total chunks minus 1. So if we have 5 chunks, the last chunk index will be 4. That's why we'll have 4 here, 5 here, minus 1 will be 4. So last chunk will be true. Okay, so if it's the first chunk, then let's clear some place. So fs unlink sync. Let's clear if there is any file at this place. Uploads slash and tmp file name. Like this. Then we put this binary data inside this file. Then if it's the last chunk, we want to rename this file and put it maybe somewhere else. I know, let's do that. Temporary file name will start always with tmp underscore, like this. And if it's the last chunk, we will do const final file name, and it will be randomized, re-randomized. So date now, to use some timestamp here, and let's add also, let's maybe do substring of this to make it shorter, from 0 to maybe 6. Let's add dot and extension at the end, so it will be .jpeg or .zip. And we want to rename from tmp underscore something to our final file name without tmp underscore. So let's do fs rename sync from uploads tmp, oh no, we were tmp and tmp file name to uploads final file name, like this. And I see that we don't need this size parameter here, so I can remove it. Okay, now let's go back to our app.js. So here inside our React app, we are reading and uploading the current chunk. So here we are uploading the chunk. But after we uploaded the first chunk, we are not doing anything. So after uploading the first part of the file, we want to start uploading the next part. Okay, so first we want to know what is the next part that we want to upload. So let's first check if it's the last chunk, the last part of the file is last chunk. So we want to know if the current chunk index is the last chunk index, so equals the number of chunks minus 1, and the number of chunks is actually math cell of file size divided by chunk size, and the file size we don't have it here, so let's do const file size equals files current file index size. Oops, const. Okay, if it's the last file chunk, so is last chunk, Then we want to know what is the final file name. So let's maybe get the file const file equals files current file index, and if it's the last part of the file, we want to know the final file name, but we are not sending it as a response. So let's go back to our server.js and let's see, we are sending only OK. So here, if it's the last chunk, let's response send, maybe let's use JSON, and here final file name, and here just JSON of OK, else OK, response send OK. So now the final file name will be from our response data final file name, like this. So if we have uploaded the last chunk of the file, we want to upload the next file. So let's first notify the state, the last file index that we have uploaded. So set last uploaded file index will be current file index, and let's also set current chunk index to null, so this will be cleared too. And if it's not the last part, we want to start uploading the next part. So to do this, we need to update current chunk index. So let's do set current chunk index, and here we will do current chunk index +1, because we know that it's not the last one. Okay, so here we are setting the last uploaded file index, but we are not checking the changes of this state anywhere. So let's maybe add it here. So use state and empty function here, and we will check last uploaded file index. So this will run when a file finishes uploading. When a file finishes uploading. So when a file finishes uploading, we want to start uploading the next file, if there is any. So now first let's check if the last uploaded file index is not null, because if it's null, we don't want to do anything. So let's do return nothing. But otherwise, we want to check if it's the last file. So if the uploaded file is the last file, so is last file, and to know if it's the last file, we can check if the last upload file index is the current file index, or better, files length. So and -1, yes. So if the last uploaded file index, so for example, if we upload 3 files, this will be 3, and the last uploaded index will be 2, because there are 3 files, so the last index of the error will be 2, and will be 2, here will be also 2, because 3 minus 1 is 2, then we will know this is the last file. So now we can define next file index, and if it's the last file, then it will be null, because we don't have anything any other files to upload, but otherwise it will be current file index plus 1. So if it's not the last file, then we can upload the next one. But now let's use this const next file index, and let's put it as set current file index here, next file index, like this. Okay, let's try. Let's maybe start with one file, a JPEG, and we have an error. Let's see. No such file or directory when we are unlinking. Okay, so in our server.js we are unlinking, so removing the file if it's the first part. So if it's the first part of the file, we want to remove this file if there is something else taking this place of this file. So we want to clear the space before starting uploading the first part of the file. So, but when there isn't any file there, we don't want to do this. So if it's the first chunk, and we need to check if there is something there. So file, it's exist sync, and we want to know if there is something. So let's copy this part and put it here. So if it's the first chunk and we have something at this place, we want to remove it before we start uploading. Now let's test again. Okay, something happened. Let's see. Yes, we are uploading some stuff here, but we are not displaying any progress or any files here. So to do this, let's go back to our app.js, and as you can see, we have a drop zone here, but under the drop zone we don't have anything else. Let me just put it maybe like here, and here let's put the list of the files that we have uploaded. So let's do div.files. Okay, so here let's list our files. So files map, and here we have file, and let's create a function here. Let's do return and div file like this, and maybe let's put name of the file somewhere here. So let's do div name, and here file.name. Okay, now instead of using divs, let's use a link here. So let's do target blank, and let's use ref file final file name, and on the beginning we need to add the HTTP localhost 4000 /uploads/. Let's test it. Okay, it kind of works. Now we also want to see the progress of the upload. So let's do let progress equals 0 from the beginning. Then we also want to know the file index here. So here, if the file is uploaded, so final file name is inside the file, then we know that the progress is 100%. But otherwise, we want to check what is the progress of the upload. So first, let's check if we are currently uploading this file. Const uploading will be file index equals current file index. And if we are uploading, then let's say that the progress is 50%, otherwise it's 0 because we haven't started uploading yet. And let's just put it somewhere here to see how it looks like. So this one is 100%. Let's try again. Let's see if it gets 50. If it's uploading, yes, it gets 50. Right, so now we want to change this 50 to the actual progress. So we know what is the current chunk index, and we know how many chunks do we have in this file. So let's do const chunks. This will be file.size divided by chunk size. And let's also do math sale here, and here we can use chunks. Let's test again. Yeah, the one thing I forgot is to do times 100% and do math round. Let's test again. Now it's much better. Okay, now let's only put some styles to our list of the files. So let's do .file. Let's do text decoration none, so we will not have this underline. Let's do color of, I don't know, white-ish. That's 80% of white. Display block. Let's do some background color. Of, let's say 41 5D, like this, and some border radius of 10 pixels, margin top of 20. Let's also add some padding, maybe 10 pixels here. Let's use position relative, and overflow will be hidden. Okay, now let's do file progress. Let's say that the background will be, the background of the progress bar will be 80, 80, 120. Oops, I forgot the comma here. And position will be absolute, inset will be 0. So now, as you can see, we have this 100% here. Yeah, let's add this percentage sign here. And we want also to edit the width of this div while it's uploading. So let's do style width progress, and let's add percentage here. So let's see. Let's test again. Yeah, now it's growing here. Okay, now I need to add some padding here from the top and the bottom. So let's do maybe padding top of 10 pixels like this, and do text align center. And also the default width will be 0% or just 0. And let's test it again. Yeah, it works, but when it's done, I want to remove this 100%. So I will only have this file name. So I will maybe add another class. Let's go back to app.js. Let's see, here we have our progress, and I will add a new class. Oops, I will put it like this. And the new class will be if the progress is 100%, then I will add done. Otherwise, I will not add anything. So if it's 100%, then it will be also done. So if I go back to app.css and I add file progress done, I can do top 100%, 100 pixels. Yeah, so it's removed from the view. Yeah, so it got moved to the bottom, so it's not visible because we have this overflow hidden. Okay, now let's try again. Yeah, and if we click it, oh, we got an error. And this error is because in our server.js, we are not serving those uploads files. And to do this, we just need to do app use. And here let's define direct URL. So everything that starts with uploads, we will do express static uploads. Now let's refresh. It doesn't work. Okay, this is because we are using wrong port here. It should be 4001. So let's fix it in our URLs here. Let's refresh, upload, click. Yeah, it kind of works. Okay, one small problem. I forgot that in buffer we need to define that this is base 64 data. So now if I upload again, we have the full picture. Now let's only try to upload several pictures or several files. And we have a small issue that after the first file is uploaded, the next file is not uploading. Okay, I see what it shouldn't be use state, it should be use effect. Okay, that's why it was buggy. Let's try again. Yeah, now it works. So that's all for today. Don't forget to click the like button and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this one.